Hi everyone, so today we're gonna break down a guitar solo I did. We're gonna focus on 6 main ideas that you can also implement at your own playing. In the end, I'm gonna share the gear that I used, and I'm also gonna give you some bonus tips to get some more energy into your solo. The solo was on top of a track called Stripes by the producer Maximedes, and it's a really fun track. It's packed with like retro 80s vibes. I could crank up the chorus, I could use the whammy bar like crazy, and if things are moving too fast, you can just click on the link below and get a free tab for everything. So let's dive right in.
Embellishments.
Okay, let's stop right here. The solo starts with a bend, which is pretty much how 99% of all guitar solos start. Is it a cliche? Yes. Should you avoid cliches? Not necessarily. If you love how something sounds, try to embrace it, try to make it your own. One thing I like to spend a lot of time with is figuring out different ways to play a note and how to give it different colors through different embellishments and different articulations. In this case, first I bend a note from below. Then I do a pre-bend and release the note. Finally, I slide from above. I wrap up the phrase with some funky slides and a whammy bar. Remember, it's not just about the notes, but how you play them. Here's the phrase without any embellishments. And here it is with the full embellishments. Alright, let's move on. So this year I really committed to learning tapping properly, and I think the best way to learn a new technique is really to put it in practice. So I've been sneaking all these kind of tapping licks into my playing. Here's the lick slowly. The chord here is F minor, so I'm really visualizing the F minor pentatonic scale around this area of the fretboard. On the fretting hand, I'm adding notes from the C minor scale that are on the same string as the tapping hand, so it helps with pull-off. I believe tapping is for guitarists what slapping is for bassists. It sounds very complicated and impressive, but in reality the technique and the mechanics are really simple. The hardest part is actually to avoid unwanted string noise. So to help with that, check that nothing is ringing out or use a clean stock like this one. Now let's move into one of my favorite ideas.
Connecting chords.
I've always admired players, especially in jazz, that could play those long flowing lines that connect seamlessly through different chords. In the case of this solo, the music goes from B flat to G7 to C minor, and I wanted to connect all these chords into one single line. For the B flat 7 chord, I'm always landing on arpeggio notes. I'm also adding embellishments or chromatic notes, but I make sure that I always land on notes from the arpeggio. Now the chord changes to G7, and to differentiate this chord from the B flat, I aim for the B natural, which is a note which is unique to this chord, and I play it on the downbeat immediately when the chord changes. Then I play the last climb up and hit the high G when the chord changes to C minor. Throughout this lick, I'm using a lot of wide intervals, and to play that, I'm using hybrid picking, which is a combination of the pick with the middle and ring finger.
Storytelling.
Now we're in the second part of the solo, and I use a technique to make the solo more cohesive. I play the same melody from the beginning, but 1 octave higher. It's almost like a storytelling device where you present who your character is in the beginning and where the character currently is. It's the same melody but higher and with way more energy. And speaking of energy, here's where the solo really takes off.
Energy.
So here are 4 strategies that I've used to add energy to the second half of the solo. 1. Faster and wider vibratos. Pretty much every time I'm landing on a note, I'm playing bending with a lot of vibrato and even using the whammy bar like crazy. It's even okay if you go a little bit out of tune. It adds to the intensity and to the energy of the note. 2. More notes. Yeah, Playing fast licks, fast runs adds a lot to the intensity of the solo. I especially like this one where I use the 3 notes per string pentatonic. Check out my series of 6 videos on the 3 notes per string pentatonic if you want to know more about how to create this kind of shapes. 3. Pick tremolo. The first time I heard pick tremolo was on a track back in the USSR by the Beatles. In the end of the track, I remember thinking, oh my god, that's so cool. And since then I've been using pick tremolos a lot, everywhere. All the time. 4. Extreme range of the instrument. It's a good idea to map your solo to go slowly up the fretboard and end in the high register of the instrument. You can even leave the fretboard if you're feeling adventurous. Okay, here's a bonus tip. One trick to add intensity to your solos that isn't about guitar playing is how you present yourself. Don't be ashamed of guitar faces, there's nothing wrong with that. Really let the music move you. And if you're doing a video, it helps with editing, camera movement, camera shakes. It all adds to the final product.
6. Planning.
Now you might be wondering, did a solo like this just happen? Did I just listen once to the track, unpacked my instrument, pressed record and started playing? Of course not. The whole solo was planned beforehand. I listened a lot to the track, I planned what I wanted to play, and I practiced a lot before recording. A solo like this is pretty much like a small composition. In the end, I think I even did 11 or 12 takes. Now let's talk about the good stuff, gear. So a disclaimer, I bought everything myself, so this video is not sponsored. In the solo, I used this Strandberg Boden RESQ. Why? Because it sounds good. The tuning stability is also really good because I'm abusing the whammy bar the whole time in the solo. And it's also very tiny, so for videos, it fits in the frame. I'm plugging my guitar directly into the audio interface, which is the cheapest Focusrite Scarlett you can buy. And tell me if I'm missing something, but I believe that nowadays any modern audio interface does the job. And for the amp, I'm using the plugin Archetype Plini from DSP. There I have a compressor on going into the lead amp. There isn't much gain and all the knobs are pretty much at noon with just a little less bass and less gain. The cab is mic'd pretty standard with a SM57 and a Ribbon 160. And because the tone is very 80s inspired, I went with a chorus with 50% mix and I bumped up a little bit the rate. For the wet effects, I went with 3 plugins from Valhalla DSP. I'm using the delay in Bucket Brigade mode, which is my favorite. It has a very nice analog vibe. It becomes darker on every repetition and it's a ping pong delay bouncing left and right. The reverb is the vintage verb and I went with a preset A plate, which is not a plate, but a chamber reverb. Who knows? My secret sauce to round things up and make the sound a little bit 3-dimensional is to add just a little bit of ambience reverb. I'm using Valhalla Room with the preset medium ambience. Alright folks, that's the breakdown of this solo and I hope you enjoyed and picked up some information for your own playing. If you liked the video, leave me a message with your thoughts and I'll try to improve for next time. It would also mean the world to me if you subscribed, shared and liked this video. As I said, this channel is self-funded. That helps us a lot. So thank you very much and see you in the next one. Bye bye.